Hello everyone, welcome to the Aniki channel. Today I'm going to take a quick look at Venom Linux, an independent distro that was made using Linux from scratch. Now Venom OS is unique in the fact that it uses Runit as its main init system and has a custom package manager, Scratch Package, which has dependency resolving and builds from source. It's also written fully in POSIX compliant shell. Not only that, but Venom Linux uses a BSD-like port system for packages. While building from source does take longer and can be harder on your hard drive, it allows you to get the latest packages quicker than Linux distros that use binary instead. Now, logging in, you'll see that I've chosen the Xfce4 Desktop instead of anything else. But you can also get instead of Xfce, you can get Mate, LXDE, and LXQT, sorry, as well as a version with Zorg but no desktop and a version with only a command line for those of you who like to make your distro your own by picking and choosing the desktop components you want. Though that isn't very prevalent considering the desktop environments are pretty vanilla from what I've seen. Now I didn't record the installer because I'm running this in a VM and I didn't have guest editions installed, so it was cramped and super cramped in an 800 by 600 resolution. But to get a good idea of it, think those Arch installer scripts that look like a BIOS on an old computer, which you use arrow keys to navigate. Despite that, the installation was actually very simple. The hardest part was partitioning with CF disk, which you can choose to partition, was actually making it pretty easy. Now, after partitioning, you can choose what the file system type you want. And Venom Linux supports ext2, ext3, ext4, Btrfs, and a handful of others, although sadly I didn't see ZFS as an option. I chose ext4 for the sake of simplicity. Moving on, let's look at the selection of apps the developer has chosen. And actually, one more thing, there's only one person who develops this, which, I mean, if they were to, I'll use this analogy, if they were to get hit by a bus, this distro likely wouldn't survive. But even considering that this was developed by only one person, it's surprising how much they were able to, make this just run well. It's like a mix between Linux and BSD, almost. I'm sorry about that. That was a small interruption there. Alright, so as I was saying, just about all of these are apps pre-installed by Xfce. But there are a few things. So they have added mousepad and possibly this screenshot tool. No, I actually think this is Xfce. Okay. But for development, I believe they have installed this Qt5 framework. And I know for graphics they've installed Ristretto. For internet they've installed Firefox and HexChat. And for multimedia they've installed Audacious, Parole, Simple Screen Recorder, and SM Player. XF burns just Xfce's media burning utility. And what confuses me is that they have Gparted installed on here. Even though that's probably mostly to go on live systems, considering once you actually have your Linux distro installed you won't be partitioning it very much, but yeah. And another thing is that there's 3 terminals, which is a little redundant, but considering that Xorg installs Xterm as well as UXterm, and then Xfce installs their own terminal, it can't be helped but can be uninstalled, so it's not too big of a problem. So I've already installed HTOP just to check RAM usage. So we can just run it. As you can see, we're using about 430 megs, which is actually the highest I've seen it. It's normally on 350 to 375. But even considering, this is pretty good. I gave it 8 gigs, but that was probably excessive. I expected it to be relatively heavy because, small independent distro. But I'm pleasantly surprised. Let's press Q to quit. And let's say small application. Let me check if Nano is installed. Okay, so I'm going to show you how, I forget the name of it. Yeah, Scratch Package. I'll show you how Scratch Package works, how it builds. So you want to sudo scratch install. We'll install Nano, which is a command line text editor. Enter password, and it'll show resolving dependencies. And it'll show the name of the application you're trying to install. Press Y, and press enter, and then it'll start downloading it. and then it'll start building it from source. Now this shouldn't take all that long considering it's just a text editor that works in the terminal. So I'm going to continue showing some other stuff while this installs. So one thing I have noticed is that with, like, I don't know if it's just an issue with Xfce's compositor, but when you do things like move the window around, like, you can see a bit of screen tearing. And like when I was doing it earlier, there was a lot of artifacting as well. Like, likely it is not helped by the fact that this is a virtual machine, in that I have an old GT730 powering the entire system, and there's probably a quick fix that I haven't found. But yeah, so Nano's installed. You can see the installation process. It's just building it from source. And we can just like nano fuck.txt. We just make this say whatever. Control O, enter, Control X. And then we can ls. And we have this. Yeah, so that's Nano. You probably already knew that. And this is a bit off topic from what I was doing, but I forgot to mention it. Scratch package is neat, like, in the fact that if you look up at the title bar, like, it'll change the title of the terminal to say how many things it's compiling compared to the total of things to be compiled, and we'll also put the name of the package that it's compiling. And when it's done, it'll say, like, blank out of blank packages installed. And even further, at the bottom, it'll show how many things of that specific part is finished. So it gives you, like, it's sort of like when you use apt in, like, Ubuntu or Debian, and it has, like, a little progress bar at the bottom, except instead of percentages, it's a number. It's like a number out of a total, so a fraction, basically. And before I exit Xfce and see how OpenBox looks, I want to see if they even have any custom themes installed. Oh, yeah. There's just a bit of artifacting over there. And as you can see, there's literally no GTK themes installed by default, which is pure vanilla. Icons. There's Adwaita and GNOME. It's Adwaita by default, but I switched it to this because I like it. Let's see. Mate and Minta. Those are from when I tried to install Mate, and then ended up powering it off on purpose because I got bored and too like wanted to go ahead and get things done, and it was taking too long to compile. So that's a broken package, but it's my fault. But I don't care. And also, like, you can also go to Window Manager. My throat hurts. And you can change the Window Manager theme. So it'll be this by default, which is why it's called default. There's also DeLoa, default HDPI, which is really big. Default X HDPI, which is just for a 90-year-old woman. Not just women, for 90-year-old elderly people. There's Kakati, which is the one I like. And I had it. There's Moheli, which looks like a floppy disk head almost. I don't know, that's what it reminds me of. But I like this. It's sort of like Windows Vista, but with like the Luna theme from XP Colors. It's pretty nice. So I'm going to log out, switch to OpenBox. And also, when I installed OpenBox, it did GNOME/OpenBox and KDE/OpenBox. That's just like the respective desktop environment, but like with OpenBox as its window manager instead of like, you know, their default ones. So I'm pretty sure on GNOME it would be Mutter, and on KDE I think that's KWin. I'm not completely sure about that, but when you if you don't have GNOME installed, or if you don't have KDE installed for these, it will just kick you back out to Slim. So yeah, because I don't have them installed, but there's also default OpenBox. We can log in, and boom, it's instant. And this is just pure vanilla OpenBox, and it's super good. Like in like Debian, Ubuntu, even Arch, I believe, they'll edit like the OpenBox content, the right-click menu. Like I know in Debian they actually make it a little bit easier by adding an applications pipe menu, but like I don't like the way they do it. Like so I prefer to just have it vanilla and then edit it myself, so I can just log back in. And also, this has a nice little app called OB Menu that you can install from Scratch Package. And like what you can do is it's a graphical editor for open box menu. It says it in the name. But yeah, it's like super useful. And yeah, I lost my train of thought again. Well, it doesn't matter because this is the end of the video. If you want me to do more with Venom Linux, just let me know in the comments. And if you liked it, then this is YouTube. You already know what I would say, so I'm not going to waste your time. And if you disliked it, there's also a button for that, used for a specific purpose. And enjoy, and until the next video, I'll be seeing you.